doing taxiing, and they would always target Celtic fans round about the Gallagate, and I used to pick up round about Paisley Road West, see at times when we used to play them a way back, and there was, alright, there'd be a police presence, but their presence that they would get over there was very much lower profile than what we got, especially around the Gallagate. But what I would suggest is that there's two things that have happened. One of them being that since the Old Firm, there's been a whole, well, if you look at it, when those games used to happen, it was at Les Gray turned round and saying, you know, if we could have our way, we would ban these games because it cost us X amount and there's all these arrests and all this. But now the police are struggling because they need to have a way to justify how they can keep their budgets so high. And if you've not got an Old Firm game and you've not got all these arrests, so they're manufacturing arrests like you would never believe. Arrests, you know, they're jailing people for such stupid measures. But then the other thing is that this bill was brought in place right after a Celtic Rangers game where 3 Rangers players get sent off, manhandling the thing with the referee, refusing to go off the pitch. And it was all about how Neil Lennon reacted against Ali McCoy's. But the whole investigation and the whole thing, the offensive behaviour at football, came into being after that. And it was also coming on the back of how the songs that Rangers fans were singing were illegal and deemed illegal by UEFA. And now it's all turned arse over tip. It's turned arse over tip, where the measures that were supposed to be put in place to criminalise these bastards for their song, now they're criminalising us because we're singing Irish songs. And that's the bottom line, bro. That is a fucking bottom line. And this has gone to
it's the absolute truth. It's the absolute truth, because you had the I don't know if he's still the Scottish Justice Minister, is McCaskill, you know, referred to the League Cup final, which we lost 3-2 to the Huns. As, you know, where there was 120 minutes of bigotry as a marvellous advertisement for Scottish football. And then a few months later you had one, is it Christine, I can't remember her surname, who, when Holroyd were having their discussion, openly admit, and as far as I know, the audio footage or the audio recording of that is still on YouTube, where she openly admits that they just wanted to even up the number of arrests. So, you know, that's fact. There's no dishonesty behind that. There's no conspiracy theory behind that. It's fact, and you know that's just about the SNP, in my view. You know, trying not to irritate one section of society enough that there's a boycott. They want cross community support to get, you know, elected, and you know, to get their yes vote to the independents. But,
well, it's a Protestant country, by about 70%. There's 18% Catholic, so by that reckoning, there's no much more. You know, they're in the majority, so they've got a whole constituency that they have to appease or keep happy. And by bringing this measure in for the last year or so, I think what they're trying to say to the constitution are trying to win over is that, you know, we'll be tough on the immigrants, we'll be tough on the people you don't want to have in amongst you, and that's. And it's very subtle. It's not overt. It's not as a case of, you know, like there was a programme on about the street, about Sucky Hall Street, and it was a guy and he was calling this guy a black bastard. You know, there's racism and there's bigotry. If someone comes up to you and calls you a Fenian bastard or whatever, then that is open and overt and it's right there in front of you. But there's one that's covert and there's one that's done by a way of, you know, of what they're doing just now, you know. Why and where is the people who have sang the Billy Boys going through the court? Where's the boys? Where was the jailing and arrest of people singing Up to Knees in Fenian Blood? Why is it only people who are singing Roll of Honour?
That's a question that needs to be answered, and I don't know if we'll ever see a proper and adequate answer to it. And who knows if they're still destroying the statistical evidence that shows that you know, Catholics in Scotland are, you know, highly more likely statistically to be the victim of bigotry than any other religious group out there.
Catholics live in the poorest areas, and predominantly the poorest areas, and there's more per population in jail, you know, for the percentage that is there. So, and then and stuff it starts. It's just, it comes for the home, mate, because if one person is racist, right, the whole society, you can't just say, oh, it's just one bad apple. There's a reason why people are racist or people are that way, you know, and it comes for the home. Like, well,
it does.
My kids, you know, when they were babies, they never encountered any racism. They just played with their wee pals, right? But, you know, it was black and white, and they've got a wonderful yellow complexion. When they played with their wee paley-faced pals, you know, the pals at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they never noticed anything. But then as you go older...
You don't.
But as you go older, then they get told they're packies. No for their direct friends, the ones that have known them, but they get told they're a packie, or they get told they're this, and then they have to deal with that, and then I have to help them deal with it. But then that's society. Then you have to say, well, it's how's you can't blame their wee pals. So the ones at 8 and 9 who are saying that. So where did they learn that? Because see, at the ages of 4, 5, and they weren't saying that. So at the ages of 8, 9, so then it's a learned response from society. So we need to address too many people,
and that's
you can get away with calling people a f***er or battering somebody because of this religion or that religion.
And that's unfortunately, it's a problem worldwide. It's not just a Glasgow problem. I mean, not to come across as a sanctimonious see you next Tuesday, but Martin Luther King said there are no bad babies born in this world. It's what we lend them in education and what we learn them through experience that makes them who they are.
Yeah, and one of my Asian friends, I used to comment on it, and he came from Coventry, and he was here. He came when he was about 16, and he used to say that. He says the reason why it's kind of okay up here to people. He says when he says okay, he says there's still racism. He says, but the thing that's kept away from the blacks and the Asians from getting it as bad as what they have in certain places down in England is because we have had the divide up here that's kept, you know, the religious divide of, you know, the Protestants and the Catholics, and the problem with that, the loyalist community. You know, it's not. I mean, there's brilliant. Look at the great Protestants who have been at our club, from Danny McGrain, Murdo MacLeod, to even Jockstein himself. You know what I mean? So the great Protestants, but there's definitely a school of thought in this country that is they think they can get away with to people, you know, but it's. Say, like you identified, it's the same everywhere. It's the same everywhere. If people are no fighting about one thing, they'll find something to fight about, isn't it? Wherever you go in the world.
That's it. Yeah. Anyway, enough of that negative stuff. Hearts on Saturday. How's it going to go?
Win?
I think we will. And I don't want to hex it now, but I think the Great Yellow Wall is going to keep another clean sheet. You only have to keep it for 30 minutes, I think, isn't it, before it becomes a Scottish record, isn't it?
30 minutes.
Yeah, and I wouldn't 30 minutes of a clean sheet.
What about British record?
British record. Yeah, British record, yeah. So, and you know, I suppose in my more darker moments, I'd like to think it'd be a 2-0 win with Bruni and Lee Griffiths both getting goals, because they those two lads have a habit of celebrating against the Doyle Huns that's worthy of remembering. But I don't know. I'll have my fingers crossed that I want to win. I suppose actually at this point I want the clean sheet more than I want to win, to be perfectly honest. But I suppose again that's getting back into the reality that we don't have the challenger that we've had the last few decades that to push us in the league. But yeah, fingers crossed that that's how it's going to go.
I mean, in a reality, I mean, if we go another game, I mean, there's two things that we're chasing then, is to keep our clean sheet and to go another game without losing. But do you think that the club will just be trying to manufacture this and keep using this to keep the season going? Because I mean, we're still only we're coming to the end of the thing, but when we get put out a week ago, I mean, from the start of February, our season is more or less, we're just playing it out now, you know. So do you think the club will manufacture?
I think we are just playing it out, and there's no way for the club to avoid that. There's nothing else for the club to shoot for. We're going to win the league. Everyone knows that. We knew that from the day that the season started. But I think, however we criticise Lowell and his cohorts at the board, they realise that, you know, if you look at the last few televised games, there's been plenty of empty seats and for the world to see. They have to have something to sell when it comes to season book renewals, and it's going to be the safe standing area, and you know that's going to be the thing that they're going to include in the envelope that goes out for season ticket renewals, or it's going to be the thing that's going to be the prominent part on the Celtic website when it comes to, you know, that time of year, because they really at this time and point, you know, we had the usual moonbeams come out that, you know, we could sign a £6 to £8 million player if we wanted. We were no more going to sign a £6 to £8 million player than the fucking Huns were. But you know, I think there's.
Do you think that's right? I mean, that's totally disingenuous, isn't it, from them? I mean,
it is. I mean, it was. You know, it's as much bullshit. You know, as you know, it's the kind of bullshit that David Murray got away with without question. And you know, I think there's a great more. There's a great deal more intelligence among Celtic fans, and there's a healthy scepticism out there, which goes back to the Kelly and White era, where people, you know, go, you know, that they're not interested in what you tell the newspapers. You're only interested in what stood on the Celtic Park pitch with a scarf above its head. That's when we'll, you know, turn around and say, okay, fair enough, well delivered. But they need something they need a carrot to dangle in front of us all to get people to buy season tickets, and then that's going to be the big challenge for them this year. And they can't do their little roadshow situation and say to people, oh look, don't you worry, we've plans in the pipeline. We'll bring in the players in that are going to excite people. We're going to bring the thunder back, so to speak.
Yeah, I'll give you. There's only two ways they can go here, right? To the end of the season, get your man Niall from One Direction and fill it with teeny boppers. Don't charge him a fiver, charge him 10, 15, charge him even 20. I mean, it'll be like a mad teenage Bros concert thing of the 80s, you know what I mean? With Screaming Wayne's, it'll be like that game there. They can do that, right? And then what they could do, that's just to fill up the seats to the end of the season. But how about this one for left field? For next season, bring in the two Larsons, Henrik and his boy for the reserves or whatever. Just bring him in. Just bring him in. Doesn't matter how good or bad he is. Just get him in. Just put him in. Give him a game. Doesn't matter. And put his dad there. I mean, it's heavy pressure on his dad and his boy, but hey, they're Celtic legends. They can deal with it. He's dealt with the pressure before, and his boy, bring them home. I mean, as a marketing gimmick, I mean, surely that is going to go past anybody at Celtic. And let's be honest, next season you could put a monkey in there, train a monkey. No, Nim Chimpsky you could put in there in a Celtic tap and he can in the league for next season. So why are we not doing it? Get the Larson fella in, get him some preparation. Him and his boy coming through. His boy's 17. Let him set the header on fire. And Larson as manager. What about that for a thought?
Well, you see, the cynic in me says that, well, first of all, I don't think Larson is Henrik is the kind of person who would, you know, I don't think he'd go for that. He would come to Celtic if he thought he had the experience and he could do a good job.
He'll tell me this,
he's not going to do it just because
Would you go for it? Would you come over for his first game?
I probably would.
There you go.
No, there's no probably about it. I would go. There you go.
There you go.
But,
there you go. There is your answer. 60,000 bumper seats.
Yeah, but Henrik's not going to go for that. He wouldn't be part of that.
Of course he would.
But I don't think he's that kind of person. When you know, teams in England or teams outside of the UK offered him the opportunity to move away when he was at his peak at Celtic, he didn't. He stayed. I just think he's that kind of person. And you know, I don't know him, never met him. maybe one day I'll be lucky enough to do so. But
you
I
see
just think he's that kind
reason.
of character, and he's got that kind of. I don't want to use the fucking Huns word,